Hi, this is Shannon. These are 5 things to note, document after visiting with your parents. The first one is, how are they? Are they having trouble with words? Are you noting some progression of memory loss? Do they have trouble with any of the activities of daily living, like getting up out of bed, or are they wobbly on their feet? What are they struggling with? Driving, getting lost? Put that all in your notebook. So you're gonna get a notebook, and every year it can be like a little journal. Every year you're gonna put the date, and you're going to document these exact 5 things, and that's going to be your baseline for tracking progression of the aging process with them and how they're doing. The how are they question is really important, and also just to think about, like, what do you remember now that you're home and you're kind of settled in, and as you look back on your time with them, are there things that stood out to you that you should really memorialize now? Did they say things or do things that gave you pause or concerns? Anything related to their finances or giving money away or, making bad business decisions. Those can be very important to document at this point. Number 2, do they have an estate plan? Does it include financial decision making, exploitation protection? Do they have plans for, what happens when they die? All those things that we talk about, is it a complete estate plan, and are they willing to share that with you? And on the issue of the estate plan, what's also really important for you to know is, where do they keep their asset lists, and how will you know where their stuff is if they become incapacitated or if they die? So understanding their asset list, and then who are their important people? So who's their attorney, who's their CPA, who's their financial advisor, who are their bankers? All of that becomes very important, and it would be great if you had that documented. So that's number 2, estate plan, and then their asset lists and important information. Number 3 is, how do they want to die? And this really kind of translates into this whole thing that I've been talking a lot about, which is the conversation. And you can look it up. It's really cool. It's like a little guidelines for people when they get together with family to really have the conversation about what it might look like to finish life. And I think the really important thing to hit on is, what is their really important thing that keeps them in their quality of life? Like, if they couldn't communicate, or if they couldn't take their dog for a walk, or, whatever it is, understanding what that is for them. What is their main quality of life issue that they always want to maintain? And then if they're no longer able to really have those quality of life issues, what do they see as far as their death event? Does it look like, they want to die a natural death without suffering? Do they want to live as long as possible? These are questions that you should ask and understand the answers to. And then again, put it in that little notebook. Number 4 is, do they want to age in place, or do they have plans that they're going to sell their house and eventually move into like an independent living community that progresses, maybe? Understanding what that looks like for them and whether or not they can afford it becomes really important, and asking those hard questions like, okay, Dad and Mom, like, if you had 24-hour care, like, how would that work for you financially? And then understanding, do they have a long-term care policy or some other mechanism for covering that long-term care if it doesn't work out? So if they're in independent living or assisted living, and then they have to go to a long-term care bed, and this is really number 5, do they have a long-term care plan? We know that long-term care costs between $13,000 and $16,000 a month. So, how would that be provided for? And have they thought about the possibility of Medicaid planning in your state? And do you guys also understand what that might look like in your state? Like, is homestead exempt? Are retirement assets exempt? Those can be very important questions. And then what tools are available to make those plans? I can tell you that in Florida, we have a lot of options. We don't require both spouses to be impoverished for the 6th spouse to obtain Medicaid. So, those kinds of questions become really important. Do they know, like, what the law is in Florida? And then do you know? And do you understand what the plan might be if they did require that long-term care? So those are the 5 things that I'm hopeful that you guys were able to kind of think about. And then document in that journal, and then keep that journal, and every year kind of update it. go back through those same questions. And yeah, I think it can be helpful for everybody to feel comfortable and to be on the same page. It's also important for you to know who the helpers are, like when things happen, like who would be the sibling or the main person who's going to be named as that agent under power of attorney or trustee in order to step in and have the affairs be managed. And you know, to ask those questions without defensiveness, like if they didn't pick you to do that job, does it matter, as long as they're being taken care of and their wishes are honored? So yes, it can be very important for you to know, and I hope this is helpful to you. I'm Shannon.